There is a moment in your financial life where the rules quietly change, and almost nobody tells you it is happening. It is not when you get a raise, it is not when you pay off your debt. It is when your investment account crosses $100,000. Before that number, every dollar you build feels like you dragged it uphill by hand. After that number, something shifts. Your money starts behaving differently. Not metaphorically, mathematically. Two brothers both started investing at 25, both earning similar salaries, both putting away the same amount each month. One of them hit 100,000 at 32 and barely changed anything about his strategy. By 45, he had over 500,000. The other one kept stopping and starting, pulling money out during rough patches, resetting his balance back to 20 or 30,000 every few years. At 45, he had 68,000. Same genetics, same upbringing, same income, completely different financial realities, and the fork in their paths was not talent or luck. It was what happened the moment one of them crossed a threshold the other never held long enough to experience. My name is Zick, and today I am going to break down exactly what changes at $100,000, why your money starts compounding in ways that feel almost unfair compared to the grind it took to get there, and what you need to do the moment you cross that line to make sure you never slide back below it. Let me start with the math, because the math is where this gets stunning. If you invest $700 a month at an average annual return of 8%, it takes you roughly 9 years to hit 100,000. 9 years of discipline, 9 years of monthly contributions, 9 years of watching your balance crawl. During those 9 years, you contributed about $75,600 out of your own pocket. The market added roughly $24,000, so you did about 75% of the work. The market did 25%. That ratio feels discouraging if you do not understand what comes next. Because from 100,000 to 200,000, the timeline compresses. It takes roughly 5.5 more years. Not 9, 5.5. You contributed another 46,000 during that stretch, but the market added nearly 54,000. Read that again. The market contributed more than you did. The ratio flipped. You went from doing 3/4 of the work to doing less than half. And from 200,000 to 300,000, it compresses again. About 4 years. Your contributions totaled roughly 33,000. The market added over 67,000. Your money is now doing twice the work you are. Every 100,000 after this comes faster, requires less of your effort, and generates more of its own momentum. This is not magic. This is the mathematical structure of compound growth. But it only kicks in after you have enough invested for the returns to become meaningful relative to your contributions. And that crossover point, for most people saving consistently, is right around 100,000. Here is why this matters psychologically, not just mathematically. Before 100,000, your experience of investing is mostly sacrifice. You are giving up spending today for a number on a screen that barely moves. A good year in the market might add 5,000 or 6,000 to a $50,000 portfolio. That is less than you contributed yourself. So it feels like the market is not doing anything. It feels like you are just parking money in a slightly better savings account, and that feeling is why so many people quit. They do not see the returns justifying the sacrifice, so they stop contributing or they withdraw for something that feels more immediate and real. But after 100,000, the experience reverses. A good year adds $8,000 to $12,000 that you did not earn, did not work for, did not sacrifice anything to create. It just appeared. And a great year might add 15,000 or 20,000. That is more than many people save in an entire year, generated passively by money that is already sitting there. This is the moment where investing stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a partnership. You show up with your contributions, your portfolio shows up with its returns, and together, you are building at a pace that neither of you could achieve alone. There is another shift at 100,000 that is less obvious, but equally powerful. It is a risk tolerance shift that changes how you invest, how you earn, and how you negotiate. When you have 15,000 saved, A 10% market drop wipes out $1,500. That is painful. It feels like a personal failure. It triggers the instinct to sell, to pull out, to protect what little you have, and that instinct, while understandable, is the most expensive financial behavior there is. Selling during a downturn locks in your losses and resets your compounding clock at 100,000. A 10% drop costs you $10,000 on paper. And here is the counterintuitive part. It actually bothers you less. Not because 10,000 is trivial, but because at that balance, you have likely been through multiple market cycles, you have watched your portfolio drop and recover, you have the experience of seeing a temporary decline reverse itself. That experience builds a kind of financial immune system. You stop reacting to volatility and start expecting it. And that emotional steadiness is worth more than almost any investment strategy because it keeps you in the market during the exact moments when the most money is made, the recovery. If this is reshaping how you think about your own trajectory, take 2 seconds and hit the like button. It helps the channel more than you would expect. Now, let me talk about something that almost no one addresses at this stage, which is the strategic shift that should happen once you cross 100,000. Most people hit this number and keep doing exactly what they were doing before. Same contribution amount, same investment allocation, same financial habits. And while that consistency is what got them here, it is not what maximizes the next phase. After 100,000, 3 things need to change. First, your focus should shift from savings rate to investment efficiency. Before 100,000, the most important variable is how much you put in. After 100,000, the most important variable is how that money is allocated. A 1% difference in average returns on $20,000 is $200 a year, barely noticeable. A 1% difference of 100,000 is $1,000 a year. On 200,000, it is $2,000. Suddenly, the difference between a fund charging 0.03% and one charging 0.75% is not academic. It is hundreds or thousands of dollars annually that are being siphoned from your compounding engine. After 100,000, audit your fees, audit your allocation. Make sure your money is positioned to compound at the highest efficiency possible. Second, your emergency fund calculation should update. Before 100,000, most people need 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. After 100,000 invested, your need for liquid cash actually decreases in some respects because you have a substantial asset base that can be accessed in a genuine emergency depending on how it is structured. This means you might be able to hold less cash and invest more aggressively, which further accelerates your compounding. Talk to a financial professional about the right balance, but do not sit on 12 months of expenses in a checking account out of fear while your portfolio could be putting that money to work. Third, and this is the one that creates the biggest leap, your income strategy should evolve. Before 100,000, the most important financial skill is the discipline to save consistently from your paycheck. After 100,000, the most important skill becomes growing your income so your contributions scale upward alongside your portfolio. A person contributing $700 a month who increases that to $1,000 after hitting 100,000 reaches 200,000 almost 2 years faster, and each subsequent milestone compresses further. Your portfolio is doing its job now. The question becomes whether you are keeping up with it by feeding it as much as possible during the years when compounding is accelerating the hardest. Let me put the full picture together. Say you hit 100,000 at age 32, contributing $700 a month. If you change nothing, by 52 you will have somewhere around 560,000. That is a meaningful nest egg. But if at 32 you increase your contribution to $1,000 a month and optimize your allocation to reduce fees by 0.5%, by 52 you are looking at over 780,000. The difference is over $200,000, and it came from 2 adjustments that cost you $300 more per month and a 30-minute fee audit. That is the leverage that exists after 100,000. Small changes produce massive outcomes because they are applied on top of a base that is already compounding aggressively. Here is what I want you to do this week if you are anywhere near this milestone or already past it. First, calculate exactly how much of your current portfolio growth is coming from your contributions versus market returns. If you have been investing for more than 5 years and the market is still doing less than half the work, you may be withdrawing too frequently or starting over too often. Consistency across the 100,000 threshold is everything. Second, run a fee audit on every fund and account you own. Add up the expense ratios. If your total weighted fee is above 0.3%, you have room to optimize. Move to lower cost index funds where possible. Every basis point you save compounds for decades. Third, if you have not increased your monthly contribution since you started investing, do it now. Even an additional $100 or $200 per month makes a disproportionate impact once your base is large enough for compounding to amplify it. Fourth, stop checking your portfolio weekly. Set a quarterly review. At this level, short-term fluctuations will move your balance by thousands of dollars in either direction, and if you watch it daily, your emotions will eventually override your strategy. The people who build the most wealth after 100,000 are the ones who contribute automatically and review intentionally. And if this has been valuable, consider subscribing. I make these videos every week to break down the psychology and math behind money in a way that actually changes how you move. Let me bring this back to those two brothers. Same starting point, same income, same opportunity. One of them held the line long enough to let 100,000 change the physics of his financial life. The other kept resetting, kept pulling out, kept starting over, and every time he reset, he did not just lose the money he withdrew. He lost all the future compounding that money would have generated. A $10,000 withdrawal at 30 is not a $10,000 loss. It is a $60,000 loss by the time you are 55. Every dollar removed from a compounding portfolio has a shadow cost that dwarfs its face value. $100,000 is not a trophy. It is a threshold. It is the line where your money transitions from being a passenger to being a co-pilot, where the market starts contributing more than you do, where your portfolio begins generating returns that took you months to save manually. Everything before it is set up, everything after it is acceleration. The grind to get there is real, and it is long, and there will be months when it feels pointless. But the moment you cross it and see your first quarterly statement where the market added more than your paycheck did, you will understand something that changes your relationship with money permanently. You will understand that patience is not just a virtue, it is an investment strategy, and it is the only one that guarantees the math will eventually work in your favor. Hold the line.